Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Limitless Podcast. My name is Thaon Sims, one of your hosts, and joining us, as always, is your co-host, Dr. Matthew Preston. Hail up the people, and Matthew.
Hey guys, what's good?
Lovely. All right, let's get into it. So today, Matthew and I were talking, and we were saying, we did an episode about,
How to pick a stock.
how to pick a stock. So now let's switch it up. What happens when you want to actually sell that stock? So, as you guys can see from the title of this episode, you'll realize that we're just going to be talking about when to sell a stock. And I think that's one of the things is taught the least in the whole investing sphere, because people will say, oh, buy this, buy this, buy this, but people don't tell you when to sell. When to sell is also crucial, because that's when you lock in gains or losses. So we thought that this is a very, very crucial episode that we need to do. And I will just speak from my point of view. I'm no pundit. Matthew is the pundit. So, yeah. But let's get it. Let's get into it. So, Preston, and before we actually dive right into it, you want to actually say the most recent stock you sold?
Good question. Which was the what was it? You remember the last one you sold? I need to think. What did I sell?
Yes, I do.
Which one you sold?
Depends on the portfolio. But for my mom's portfolio, I sold MFS before that nosedive. Yeah. I'm trying to remember. I sold. I'd have to check back my portfolio. I remember for my portfolio, I sold some of a stock, but not like an entire exit. I can't tell the last time if I did an entire exit this year. I'm trying to remember.
The last one probably I sold was 1GS. Yeah.
Mine was RPL.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was
when you sold RPL?
Maybe 2 months ago or so. So I think it was end of March. Every now and again, you'll realize that certain stocks, they're volatile within certain time periods of the year. So look at RPL. You'll realize there's a spike. Yeah. You'll realize there's that March spike.
February? End of February?
I sold quite a bit end of February, actually, but I didn't fully exit. I had minimal shares, but I sold most of it at that point, end of February. Most of it was sold end of February. And it was close to 240. It was actually 230. Trying to remember the actual trade. I'd have to check back my account. But yeah. And I sold because it hit my goal at the time. So I think that's the first point that we should raise. That we sell, in my opinion, you sell when you hit your goal, right? You have to know, and in my opinion, you have to know the selling price before you even buy the stock. A lot of people don't even talk about that. Like, you should know the selling price before, because if you're buying the stock, I don't believe in just buying a stock for the end of eternity. There must be an exit price. There must be a price where you say, all right, if it hits this price, yeah, I'm comfortable exiting. All right. So it's when you actually achieve your investment goal. So let's say you go into a stock, for argument's sake, RPL, and your aim is 20% and you're buying at $2. You know that you have, once that hits 240, and this is without fees, this is before we even talk about fees. But once that hits 240, that's your 20% return. So you could even put in, what I do sometimes is I have my buy order, get it, and then I'll put in my sell order and just leave it alone. I don't even look at the queue. I completely forget about it, which is why I don't even remember when I fully exit certain stocks.
You're not afraid of the effect of that, possibly?
What do you mean?
If the order is enough, like a large enough size?
No, bro. My pocket.
Let me share my screen again.
My pocket not so heavy, so it's not large enough to scare away people.
Can you know? Okay, you see my screen?
Yeah.
You see my screen? So okay, this is the queue. You notice, for example, this point here, you're seeing, this is Regency Petroleum, RPL. They own a lot of different gas stations, mostly in like I think all of them are in like Westmoreland. It's 3 gas stations now. They built the third one.
It's funny because I passed Paradise Pen on. I'm not sure if Negril is fully built, and they have a third one that they want to build, but I don't think it's in Westmoreland. They want to build one over this side of the island. Trying to remember where exactly.
They're in cooking gas. They're in automotive petroleum. But you see, for example, say you notice, like, for example, at 240, there's these 2, depending on who you're asking, like these could be, large orders. There's a single order here. This is for what, 700K. This one on 600K. Some people, for example, when they want to sell, they might be looking at first to sell at 240, but then they're like, oh wait, say this is one person, I don't know. They're like, oh, I'm seeing these units at 240, so then I want to like try to undercut, and then they might put theirs at 239. Look, you notice there's one at 239 right there. It could be that the person literally saw the 240s and they're like, nah, I want to get mine sold before. And then someone could come in and undercut and say, no, I want 238, 237. So that's
so you're saying that my price could be like a ceiling. Like
essentially
ceiling.
It could be. Could be. I mean,
if we're talking big money,
knocking it still, because but the other thing you could do is maybe if you set like an alert and you knew, okay, when it traded at that price, then you could then put your order in.
You can do that with my money, JA? Set alerts?
Yeah, you can.
Really? Did you know that you could also get like 5% off? Is it 5% off when you use code Limitless? When you're trying to... If you guys ever want to use My Money JA and sign up, use code Limitless. You get 5%
put a link in the description.
Link will be in the description. Yeah. Wow, you can set alerts. That's crazy. Who knew? Yeah, that's a great feature by My Money JA. I always set alerts as well. So yeah, kudos to them. So
no, but I do agree that you should have like a goal in mind in terms of when you're buying something.
Agreed. I think it's crucial. I think it's the most important thing, because sometimes you'll be buying. I remember back in the day, I used to buy off of FOMO. Like you see a stock running up and say, I'm going to have to run in on this. And you buy, but you don't really know where to sell. You're just watching. You're just watching the market. And you see go click and you say, profit. And you see drop down and like, should I sell? I can't deal with that emotional turmoil,
as much as, bro. Like, if you even look at it practically, like if you look at, there's a lot of stocks, for example, that if, like a lot of times, you say something's going on in the company.
Yeah.
And people are liking what's going on. They're saying, okay, I'm seeing profit. I'm seeing a path to more profit. Like a good example, I always talk about like Mailpack. If you look back at this, let's see.
Those are great buys.
Yeah, like look at something like Mailpack, right? Mailpack in early 2020, when COVID first hit, dropped to like a dollar low. Like it was like dollar below $2 for a good portion of 2020, right? And then the Christmas quarter is usually their biggest quarter in terms of revenue and profits historically. And because of what was going on, a lot of people couldn't travel. A lot of people were expecting Mailpack to make a lot of money. And also there were certain restrictions on travel and just even shopping. There was restricted movement. Like they would remember we used to have curfews and things like that. So people were there buying from like PriceSmart. A lot of Jamaicans like PriceSmart, you can buy in bulk. A lot of them were flocking. A lot of people more were using Mailpack. So the expectation was that Mailpack was going to make a lot more money. And if you look at that, the report was released, I think, February 15th. So people bought it up in expectation of that December quarters, bought it up to like $4. And then when the report came out, it wasn't as good. They sold it down to like $3 low. But I mean, it still stayed up at that point. But I mean, if you look at where Mailpack is now at $2. So you could have been buying at that $2, set a goal of, my goal is $3. You could have sold and then have bought back in 50% cheaper. Or say your goal was $4. You could have sold at $4, taken all your money out, and then be buying back in now at $2. Or I even remember, I think you had bought Tropical too, right? Back when
I
It
bought
flew up to
tropical
like
at, I think it was
$2
$2
something.
two.
I bought like $2 something.
$2
So
two
yeah,
cents.
same
Yeah.
thing. A similar history with like tropical battery.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on, it's froze 1 sec.
Yeah.
Where was
Tropical
this?
was
Yeah,
a
so
great
this
buy.
was yeah. Hold on, it's laggy. Interesting.
I think I sold at $2, almost $2.80.
So like, look here, early January 2022, tropical was like $1.20, whatever. Then it started going up to like flew up to like $2 at one point, came back down to like $1.70.
I remember
And I
when people
remember it
thought that
was
was like the peak at the time. Like it was $2, and at that time it was a peak, but it was not the peak. Yeah.
yeah. But look at, for example, let's see. So look, so it was like $1.20, $1.30. And then you notice when this report here, the Q2 report dropped, it flew down to $2.50. And then even now, if you extend it out, so let's see, where is it now? It's like $2.17, and that's even a recovery. Remember, late last year it was below $2.
Yeah, $1.70.
So even something like that, like people were expecting the report to be really good. They bought it up, went to historic, like it's barely reached that price since. It
Yo,
hasn't
you
really
know
reached.
what's a
That's the
great
all-time high.
example? Fesco.
Or even
Fesco is a great example. Fesco ran up.
Yeah,
I remember
like $7.
Fesco, I remember buying at so many different points at Fesco, buying and selling, buying and selling. Just when I hit my goals, I remember the first time I bought Fesco, it was $2. And I remember selling it at around $4. There was like an initial run up in, was it 2021? I'm trying to remember. You have it up. Can I check around 2021 time? I'm trying to see where the run up came from between $2 and $4. And then it started to skyrocket after that. But I hit my goal. I literally hit my goal, and I felt bad because I didn't catch that entire run up to 8. I caught it back. There's another point I was flipping Fesco, but I remember missing out on some significant gains, and I couldn't ball because I was just like, yo, my goal really and truly was 100%, and I got the 100%. So I wasn't really upset, and I think what it taught me was to just reevaluate, because if there's more to gain, then sure. But look at people that would have bought at the all-time high. The all-time high, I believe, was $8, right? Traded as high as 8. Imagine buying at 8 and you seeing that stock nosediving, buying out of FOMO, the same thing I was talking about, buying out of FOMO.
What's
So,
FOMO?
Fear of missing out. So it's like you see the stock running up and you're like, yo, I need to get in on this. I need to get in on this. And
I think that similar thing happened with, RJR in the past too.
There are a lot of stocks for sure. Yeah, look at RJR, those peaks.
So early 2020 was $1.20.
Yeah.
Early 2021 flew up to like $3 and look straight back to where it is now. Yeah. So like the tough part is like when you could be buying at $1, say I'm like, okay, I think I could see the stock doubling. I don't really know what was going on with RJ at the time. I think they were probably making heavy profits. Maybe they were doing some expansion and all kind of plans and things like that. And you're like, okay, I think this is a stock that could go up 50 or 100%. You could sell at the $2 and then just look at that now, chance to get it back at that same price. So yeah. So I think sometimes the act of but then I mean the other thing is that there are other examples where maybe if you had just held, like, it's not every time this happens, but there are a lot of examples when it does happen. I guess there's more nuance to it than that. But yeah, I think that's a good point. In terms of like going after your goal. Another point I think I'd like to touch on is one of the tips that says when you want to sell a stock, or how I know when to sell a stock, or what can help to guide me, is when you see something more attractive. So, for example, say you go into a business and you're like, okay, I think that this business has strong fundamentals. They're expanding heavily. they have maybe some large contracts coming up, or maybe there's some incentive coming from the government. The government is maybe reducing a tax that that business has to pay, and if they reduce that tax heavily, they're going to make a lot more money. Or there's all kind of different reasons. Whatever the reason that you're like, okay, I think this business is going to do pretty well, right? Remember that sometimes that can change. And for example, you might see something that you're like, okay, maybe this thing could actually be better than that. So I'm like, okay, I think this business could be growing at maybe a 20% every year, but then there's this other business that could be growing at even 50% per year. So sometimes it's not that the thing you're in is going to be bad. Like, it's not like you wouldn't make money if you're still owning that company, but you just see that other opportunity, a much greater opportunity, and you think that you can make a lot more money from that. That's sometimes when you might want to sell a stock, and sometimes you may even want to sell it at a loss, because say you want to sell this stock at 10%, but then you think that say the stock you're in could go 30% based on your estimations, but the other stock that you're looking at could go 100% or 200%. You're like, wow, that is a much better company. And that could be a reason that you want to sell a stock. Yeah, so essentially you're seeing a better opportunity versus what you're in now. So you bought a stock, now that the stock you're in isn't good, but you see a better opportunity.
Has that ever happened to you before?
Yeah.
You can give any examples where you just find a better opportunity and you say, yo, I need to sell this stock, that not moving as, it's like you find a faster horse. You sell this stock just to free up some cash. I remember, when I used to see it enough, and I haven't seen it this week. So this week is for context to everyone. There's an IPO coming out, and the opening date is Friday. Usually, historically speaking, when an IPO is out, I used to see sell off of certain stocks. You used to see certain stocks start to decline or so on, and that's people trying to free up cash. To go. In my opinion, I think that's usually what happens. People try to free up cash to go into this IPO, but I'm not seeing that as much this time around. It's crazy how the market changes based on a lot of different things. Maybe is it that a lot of people aren't really medicine equities as hard? So that's what I used to. If I had no free cash, I'd have to sell a stock if I wanted to go in an IPO, or I would sell a stock to anticipate this decline when this IPO comes. It's like the IPO will announce maybe the Monday the prospectus drops. The Tuesday morning I'm selling a stock because I know a lot of people might be selling this stock as well to go into this IPO, stay cashy, right? And then anticipate the decline of that stock and then buy in close to the trough. That used to be a strategy I used to do. Hasn't happened because we haven't had many listings. And even with this listing, I haven't seen many stocks being sold off.
So stock ninja.
No, not even, not even. It's just the patterns you see when you're investing for a couple of years. But yeah, I asked you a question. When was what was the last time you sold up a stock, or you sold a stock to free up some cash?
What did I buy?
Or yeah, you can tell us what you bought.
I sold. So I think I had sold one GS late last year, and I had actually bought Wigton. Yeah.
Nice. Oh yes, I remember you were buying around 80 cents or so.
I think it was 70 something. That was the first, like 70.
Ooh, profits.
Yeah. Good thing I actually had to sell one GS at a loss.
Stock ninja.
Because I was probably like 5% loss or something like that. Because I wasn't doing and it's actually funny because now one GS is below where I sold it.
Wow.
I think one GS right now is at 80.
And Wigton's higher than what you bought it for. Would you look at that? Perfect example.
Hold on. You see my screen? So one GS right now.
It's crazy because one GS is such a good company.
Yeah. So I think I sold it late.
Not there.
Sometime, or I saw like 95 cents or something like that, and now it's at 86 cents. So, and then Wigton.
That look like buy territory still enough for me. We will see.
Let me see. Wigton is Well, coming from last year, yeah. 70.
You realize 70 cents to $1 is, what's that, 40? Is that 42%?
But yeah, that
I
was
need to
the
check.
point. But I mean, at the end of the day, still, you can be wrong, you know.
Oh,
Sometimes it can be
definitely.
wrong. I suppose I had bought Wigton and then Wigton tanked to 50 cents.
Definitely. And then the stock you sold go up. I feel like that's happened to me before.
Yeah, that can definitely, yeah, that's happened before.
It's happened to, I remember in one of our episodes with Top Striker, I think she said that happened to her as well. So,
yeah, the thing she went in went down. The thing she was in before, but yeah,
went up. Yeah.
Just have to learn from it.
Just have to learn. It's just the game.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes for
Any
me,
other points?
yeah, sometimes for me when I want to, why I sell a stock is I just need cash. Like, in my opinion, investing is so that you make enough money for do what you want with the cash, right? The cash is just it's a means to an end for me, right? You invest to make more money to be able to spend the cash at some point in time, whether it's now, whether it's to spend the cash on my grandkids and have like a trust fund, but eventually I'm gonna dead left the money. So you might as well have a goal in mind. And so sometimes I just need the cash. Right? I remember I sold the first time I ever cashed out money, do our funds out from my portfolio was, I don't remember which stock I sold or which stocks I sold, but it was for a down payment on my car. It was literally to just do the down payment on my car. So sometimes you just sell a stock when you need cash. Thankfully, it hasn't been where I need cash, like, oh, yo, this is an emergency or anything like that, which is great, but that's what the portfolio is there for. If you need cash and you really, really need cash, you just sell it because at the end of the day, it's still it's very liquid. Stocks are very, very liquid. You get that, it's T+2, you get that back in your bank account in 2 days. The trading day plus 2 business days. So yeah.
And it's gonna go T+1 later. Is it this month? Hold on.
I know it's this year.
When the JSC changes, you should wait. You should actually explain. We should explain the
T is the trading day.
Yeah.
And then plus 2 business days. And then that's when the money will actually hit the account. So that's the lag. It's like a lag period when you sell a stock.
So let's give an example. So suppose I sell the stock today.
The Monday? Today's what
which
day?
is
Tuesday?
Today's Tuesday. Yeah.
If you sell the stock today and 2 business days, what's that? Wednesday? Thursday? By Thursday?
And the trading day Thursday should be able to withdraw the money. So that has been the standard for a while. At one point, I think it was actually even T+3, but the JSE states that they are going to be moving to T+1. I'm just trying to remember when they said there is a notice or something that they had put out. Yeah, I found it. May 27th, but it's like I can't see. Not like I can show you like an official document from them, but I see May 27th. So yeah, later this month. It's in about 2 weeks. Wow. Should put that in my calendar.
I see an article by David Rose, January 9, 2024. Stock trades to be settled faster in Trinidad. I'm trying to find the Jamaica Stock Exchange one, but this one says Canada and the USA will also be moving to the T+1 cycle at the end of May. So it's not just Jamaica.
They also mentioned that the market hours are going to be extended, you know. Because let's say...
Which market hours? Jamaica?
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's actually crazy. To what?
Let me find it.
I can't believe that. Wow.
Yeah, I remember 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. So right now, the pre-market is 9 a.m. to 9:30. So pre-market essentially means you can start to put orders into the queue, but no trades will actually happen. And then at 9:30 is when the market actually opens, and then the first trades can start to happen. and it usually closes, well, it closes at 1 p.m. So essentially you have trading from 9:30 to 1, but now they're going to put the pre-market at 8:30. Then the market will open at 9. So you'll go from 9 to 2 p.m.
Okay.
So I think that will be interesting.
Nice. I think that would be so cool.
Yeah. Because sometimes, I mean, the more time I think, because especially if like there's say,
it benefits
a
the
stock
JSE
halts or a trade. Yeah, because there could be, I guess, more time.
There's more trading, more time to trade. Likely more trades will occur during the days, which therefore means more profits to them. And the JSE is a listed company as a stock. So, I mean, there's also that. Wow, that's actually kind of cool. I'm happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other points though? When else would you sell a stock?
So the next point I'd say is when the fundament, or for example, the reason why you went into the company is no longer true. So for example, if you went into a company because I'm expecting that the government is going to do this or change this policy, and that policy is what is going to really drive the explosive growth, or say the company is getting bought. So say you bought the stock at 20 and then you're expecting the companies, because there was a chance the company was going to be bought for $40 by someone else. But then, okay, it's no longer going to be bought or something like that. The reason that you went into that is no longer the same. Or something changed along the way that makes it less attractive to you. I think that's, I guess, a good reason to sell. And sometimes it's hard too, because sometimes there's a certain level of bias that you have, because okay, you're in the stock, things could be not going so good with the company, or you're like, sometimes you'll try to find a reason like, oh no, but okay, even though this thing is going bad, maybe there's these other things and there could still be a chance. It's very hard, because sometimes you don't want to be wrong. Next you sell, and then the stock shoots up, or some other reason why it moves. But if, for example, the reason that you went into that stock is no longer true, and you can't find any other reasons that you think will help drive the level of growth that you want in a company, then a lot of times you should sell, sometimes even at a loss.
Yeah. You know what's a great example of something like that? And a very real example, and a lot of people probably felt it. When Chris Berry sold Carb Cement. You remember that? That man said, dump it. And the reason I remember was it was a dividend policy or so on, where I think it was Cimex, the parent company.
Not a dividend. You mean the
It's like a preferential dividend, or it's not a dividend. Sorry, it's like
no. It's
they take it off the top
official
line.
term.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the official term.
It's not like a tariff or it's
no.
What is it? Oh, I'm trying to remember, but basically, I remember what happened was
no. I want to remember the exact name.
You can find it, but I'm just gonna explain it. No, it's basically the parent company wanted to take money off of the top. Basically, it's off of the. I don't know if it's 5%, but it's off of the top line. So their revenue, as they get their revenue,
royalty.
Yeah, that's what it's called. Yeah, they took royalty. Yes.
Royalty.
Yes. It's not profits. This is off of revenue. Top line.
You know who also loves that? Who loves royalties?
Who?
Mr. Wonderful. And you guys know Mr. Wonderful?
Oh, yeah. Mr. Wonderful is
Mr. Wonderful.
Shark Tank?
Yes. You know his real name? Or his other name?
I can't remember.
Kevin O'Leary.
Yes, Kevin O'Leary. Yes.
Yes, Mr. Wonderful. Yo, when he's doing his deals, he loves a royalty. Like, he's just like a royalty. And it's like he sets it up. He'll be like, okay, for those that don't know, Shark Tank, I'd actually recommend Shark Tank to anyone who's trying to get into like business and those stuff. It's a very entertaining show, and the kind of stuff they talk about is like, I guess it's kind of what actually happens a lot of times in the business world. How, if you're a business and you want to grow, you need investors, and sometimes those investors can be sharks, and they'll want to get certain deals. Like Mr. Wonderful, sometimes he'll be like, okay, I will lend you money, like say, oh, I'll lend you, he'd be like, oh, I'll lend you $500,000 US. And what he does is he's like, okay, I want a royalty. And a royalty is essentially a percentage. Well, it can be a percentage, but it can even be just a dollar value. So I remember he's given examples where suppose he'll analyze the business. So they'll go through it. They'll be like, okay, say you sell something like gummy bears. And for each packet of gummy bear, you sell it for $10. And you sell it for $10, but it costs you $5 to make. So you make a $5 gross profit on that, right? So you can buy it for $5, sell it for $10, you make $5 off of each. That's the gross profit. You have other costs and stuff. He'll be like, okay, based on your margins or whatever, I want you to, every unit you sell, you need to give me 50 cents on it. And then that 50 cents will pay back the loan that I lent you for the 500,000. And then he'll ask you numbers. Okay, how many units do you sell? Okay, how much time would that take you to pay back? And he's like, okay, once you've paid back the royalty, then it will like, convert to equity in the business, or they're definitely very interesting. But yeah, essentially they set up a royalty.
Yeah.
And
do you remember
a
the
large
percent?
shareholder?
I think it was. I don't think it's 5. I think it was up to 4%. I don't remember how much it was.
It was a range. Let me see. It was 2021. Let's find the report.
It was 2021.
In the report.
I found an article. This is kind of funny, but this is, I mean, this is big money we're talking, but
hold on, send the article.
Okay, this article.
I'm sharing screen.
Sure, let me drop it in our chat. Sent it to you right there. The article's titled.
I'm just realizing, I think when the royalty first came out, I don't think it was in an article. I think it was maybe like a.
It was an.
Wasn't it that their share? Oh no, it was their shareholder meeting. Yes, you had to get shareholder approval.
But who is the largest shareholder of Carib Cement?
Who is the largest shareholder? Yep.
Cemex, which is the Mexican company. So it's so funny because in this article, and it's Dan Theoc reiterated, the largest minority shareholder is very concerned about this royalty fee, but he's the largest minority shareholder. So if the majority shareholder votes and says, "Yeah, we want this," you can't really do nothing. So this was Dan Theoc is from Mayberry, so of course the man is just like, nah, and Chris Berry's like, nah, that can't work. And you could see it.
Hold on, at the time. So I found the actual notice. So say this is the Carib Cement Company. This is a notice of their 72 years. Their AGM. The AGM was going to be December 7th, 2021, and at the time, the report before, this is a report up to September 2021. Look at the shareholder list. You can see TCL, Trinidad Cement. Was it Trinidad Cement Limited? And then they have another holding company. So they own 65% through that, 8% through that. And also Cimex. Essentially, they own all of these, which is what, like 70?
Yeah, it's TCL.
70-some
that's majority shareholder, Mayberry, my bad.
MJE, their stock portfolio, they were the single largest Jamaican shareholder.
But hold on.
They own, when you look at the percentage of the company, it's quite small, but the amount of money.
Yeah, but doesn't Cimex own most of TCL as well? So they're really and truly the largest shareholder.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When you combine them, they were the largest. Yeah. So MJE was the largest Jamaican shareholder. They were at those 13 million shares. And I mean, if you're looking at the price of Carib Cement, that was Carib Cement when it was over $100.
Yeah.
Right. So that's quite over $1 billion at the time. And they did not like that. So I was reading here, they speak about here. So they say CC, and for the audio listeners, guys, if you don't know, we're on YouTube. The benefit of YouTube, when we share our screen, we show different documents and things like that. You can see it. So definitely, if you want to, as always, subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on notifications, drop a like if you like the video.
Drop a like.
But see, there's a proposal to enter into a master services and intellectual property agreement and 2 sub-agreements with Cimex and its affiliated companies to establish a general framework for the corporate services provided by Cimex to Carib Cement Limited, which is CCCL, as well as royalties for the use of trademarks, names, and intellectual property. So they're saying, yo, the fact that you get to use our name, and I mean, at the end of the day, like if you look at the history of Carib Cement was like doing very, very poorly for years before this. Cimex had to pump a lot of money into the business and help fix it up. So they're saying, hey, we fixed up this business. Shareholders, you should help pay us some more money. And say for a fee to be determined according to the principle of arm's length pricing and will not on an aggregate basis exceed 4% of consolidated net sales. So that's not profit. That's not net profit. That's just revenue, right? So essentially, the interesting part about this, the fact that they tie it to revenue is kind of tough, because if the business isn't profitable, the business could not be profitable. They still have to pay.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's, I guess they didn't like it. And
yeah, because
if you look at that,
at the time, the revenues were like 20 billion, more than 20 billion. So if you meds 4% of that, that's up to $800 million per year. So yeah. It's kind of tough being a minority shareholder. That imagine being and he, it's funny because he did say he's the largest minority shareholder, which Mayberry was at the time. But I mean, you really don't have a say in this. As much as you have voting rights and this and that. If the majority shareholder says, "Yeah, we want this to happen, we're gonna make this happen," isn't it? And you can't really say anything about it. It is what it is. But what you can do is sell. And that's literally what he did. If you don't like what the company is doing, just leave. Which is, it was sad for a lot of people.
Look at how much they own now.
I wonder how much do they own now?
Look at the share price. Oh, I'll show you. So the share price back then was over $100, and it dumped all the way down to like within just a few days. That was dumping down 90, dumped down as low as to 60, I had friends 70s, that were
buying at 80s. Because they're like, yo, this is a steal. And little did they know what was going on. Because I could have bought too. If I didn't really know exactly what was going on, I would have probably just bought.
Okay, we just hear that, the company. I guess that's the tough part, because I got a lot of if you listen to,
you'd have had to be mentioning the AGM.
Finance. Not even. I'm just saying, like, for example, the finance talk, like a lot of advice is said that, okay, if you have a company, strong fundamentals, you still believe in the company, if the stock price drops, you should be happy, you should be buying, like it should be a buying opportunity. So your first instinct, if you believe in that, is to buy. And so when something like that happens, it's just like, what? If you look at it, the one day, 27th of October, it closed at 115. The next day,
and you know what the worst part about that was? It was the company was turning around. Like you were saying, they had bad debt for years. And the company was literally paying off. They were almost debt free at the time. And they were medicine to pay dividends. So, at that time in my head, this is a buy. This is a steal. And at the time I did buy. I remember flipping Carib Cement and selling. It wasn't that great of a flip. I don't remember making huge gains off of it. It was maybe like 15% or so on. But yeah, those were good flips. And I remember, I bought for my mom too. My mom always gets some really good trades. I'm not gonna lie. But at the time, look at that. And imagine you see that now, and then you've been buying, dividends going to come. They're very cashy. Less debt, paying off most of their debt, right? After
construction industry in Jamaica.
It was 2 decades and construction was booming. 2 decades of being in the wilderness, bruv. And yeah. And then that happens.
I was showing you how much they own.
And you can't even absorb that. Like, imagine you say, all right, a bunch of people are going to be buying that. Mayberry steak was heavy. Heavy. So, I mean, unless you have the millions of dollars to back that up and absorb all of those, you really can't do much. Oh, you're comparing the...
Yeah, but they didn't release... I'm not seeing a top 10 shareholder list for March. So the most recent one I'm seeing is... And then the audited wouldn't have it. The most recent one I'm seeing is the 9 months. Okay, I'll look at that one. So if you look at it... So back then, this was September 2021, before they started dumping shares. And look, now they're now the 9th largest. This is 4 million shares.
Coming from 13 million shares down to 4 million shares. Yep.
I feel like I'd seen one that it was more recent though.
Well, I don't know. That's a very obvious one. When there's some fundamental change in the company, a man just will sell. Might be time for him to sell.
Yeah. You know the tough part too?
I know.
Like I remember looking. Hold on. I remember looking back when I was seeing it dump at like the $50, and I was kind of tempted to buy it because I'm like, yo, the business is quite profitable. I still believe, like, if you look at just the amount of infrastructure projects the government of Jamaica has laid out, right, all of these different buildings they want to build and all of that stuff, and I'm like, yo, or even the highways are cementing different aspects, not the road itself, but like there's cementing like a lot of these things, and I'm like, it's very hard for them.
No, you need to cement
kind of not
in
lose,
that process.
like So, and they've set up themselves. Their machines are a lot more efficient. They've changed out a lot of them. They're also doing some heavy expansion. I think they're trying to. What's the article I remember? I think it's 30% more that they're gonna be able to produce.
Oh, as in it's more not cement. Produce. I think it's capacity. I don't remember if it's production or.
So it's not.
It might have been it might have been produced. Sorry, it is produced. Yeah, it's about 30%.
Yeah, so even things like that.
Yeah,
I'm like, yo, this is. But I was just afraid because I'm like, yo, as much as okay, the fundamentals of our business can look good. You have to remember the fundamentals of any asset, supply and demand. So even if there's a lot of demand, if there's more supply, these guys keep dumping shares. It don't matter. Like we do have that kind of money. But now I found it interesting because it seems to be like, if you even look over the last 3 months, you could have been buying at like 55, and this went as high as 60, close at $67. And look at the PE right now. PE is $7. Their most recent report. You mean PE 7? How much? Yeah. 7. Sorry, 7. Yeah. Their most recent report. What is this?
Now the report has been good.
They have revenue. So this is for the quarter, January to March. So this is January to March this year versus last year. They have more in revenue, 7.6 billion versus 6.8. Look at the gross profit margin. I don't know if there was like a drop. They look at this, probably something that had gone on last year though. Was such a big gross profit margin drop. But look at that profit. They did almost just under 2 billion profit versus 289 million
last year.
And if you just look at look at that.
Yeah. Big.
So things like that, I'm like, But the funny part is, I feel like they may have started ease off with the selling though, because I see some of the Mayberry high ups there's some bullish on Carib Cement again, which is, I guess it's just a certain price.
Yeah.
Bullish. Them say, hold up with the dumping, bro. Let's go. Time for it to fly again.
Right. Let's see.
But yeah.
You know, it's another example of that too. Blue Power. So you remember when Blue Power?
You mean Lumber?
Both.
Wait, another example of what? Of
your when the fundamentals change in the company. Oh, I
thought you were saying dumping. Okay.
No,
that's true.
Not necessarily dumping. Yeah, but when fundamentals change in the company, then it's time to sell. Salada too.
Yes, Salada
too. But I remember the first real one was, well, not first real one, but one of them was Blue Power when it was the soy
something with
soup,
the tariff,
the soap. Yeah, there's a
tariff essentially, right?
Yes. So I remember what happened. It was with the WCO, the World Customs Organization. And basically what happened was they're in breach of some of the rules because they use palm oil based noodles as their raw material. And at the time, they could sell to CARICOM countries at 0 tariff. But because you use imported palm oil based noodles, all of that get mashed up. And you had to, they started I think the tariff was 40% or something like that. I think it was about up to 40%. So imagine you were paying 0%, and now you have to pay 40% duty on that. So that markup was
Wait, you were
insane for
paying?
them.
They were paying. Hold on. So that you're saying the thing that they use, Blue Power. For those who don't know, you're saying they're what, a soap manufacturer, right?
Yeah, them sell the
And
Blue Bomber, Blue Power, the
I
blue
should pull up
soap.
a picture of that Blue Power soaps.
Yeah, I feel like everybody know the blue soap. You know, when
Yeah,
Cartel
just to
said cool,
show.
like my wash your face with the cake soap. That's so cake soap. That's Blue Power. Yeah, that is the cake soap. Make you cool and bear things. Free advertising from Cartel. I don't know. Maybe that's what boosted their sales at the time.
But yeah, so you're saying the thing that needed some sort of noodle?
Yeah, so it's palm oil based noodles. It's a raw material for to
Palm
produce the soap
oil.
itself. But
Okay.
using that, I think their palm oil based noodles were imported. And based on the rules of the WC, I don't know if it's the WC or so on, but in order to would a part of being in CARICOM is you get certain preferential treatment when you're selling to other company or countries in CARICOM, and one of them is it's trade tariff, so you don't really get that tariff, so you don't have to spend money. I think it was zero. There is no tariff, like 0%, zero tariff, right? But once you're in, and they're in breach of that because it was imported, and I think it's because it's imported palm oil based noodles, why they had to start now paying like everybody else, which is at 40% duty. Like if you import it from Spain, this was 2021, 2020, 2019, around that. This was before the spin-off of Lumbo. And I thought that they spun off Lumbo in order to basically de-risk Lumbo, because Lumbo was under Blue Power. They spun it, yeah, so they made it its own entity. I thought it was to I don't know, but that was probably 2019, 2020. So yeah, and then you could see Blue Power's price tanking after that.
But the thing is, hold on, this is when it tanked wasn't this this rise, wasn't this in relation to the Lumbo spinner?
That
So
rise
I think
would have been in relation
it had a great run up, but then after it would have gone off as a record date.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. It just kept sinking.
So I guess you're saying if you are an investor that you believed in Blue Power, but then
because imagine
tax that they had to pay would have been like a heavy hit on the business.
Imagine you export a lot of your soaps. Like I don't know how much at the time was export, like what percentage was exports, but if a lot of it was to CARICOM countries, and now you have to pay that 40% tax on top of that, that's gonna firstly, you're gonna have to pass. You probably have to pass that cost on to the consumer. That's number one. So, and 40% is heavy. So imagine passing that on to the customer. You get less sales because all of a sudden Blue Bomber soap is so much more expensive. Yeah, that's gonna hit your sales, and if you export heavily, that's gonna hit those revenue numbers. So I know they were battling it out in court and a bunch of stuff. I actually don't know what came of it, but I remember at that time that was a heavy hit on their business. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there are tons of cases. I guess if you guys liked everything that we've said and some of the cases, we'd love if you just thumbs up, hit that like button, and subscribe for sure. Subscribing helps us so much. Right, we're almost at 500 subscribers, guys. Let's get it.
Something else I want to talk about, guys. We're interested in a stock series, where we essentially just do stock reviews of companies, and you guys can pick the company. So what you can do, if you're on YouTube, you can comment below which stock should we review next. And what we'll probably do is maybe try to set up some sort of poll, maybe it's on Twitter, Instagram, or some website, where you can pick which stock you think that we should review first, and we'll try to do it every time you guys pick. We'll do one, then the next one, whoever can vote, and you can pick the next company we'll review. And yeah,
we'd love that.
Thanks for the support.
Thank you guys for the support. Thank you guys for this episode and for listening always. Limitless out.